Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by an impact feed technician who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome back to the show, Corrina Mabey.
Hello. Thanks for having me back again.
Lists Nightmare on Elm Street as favourite TV show, wears Friday the 13th merch. What is she doing?
Nightmare on Elm Street is the favorite movie, not my favorite TV show, but that's cute. You tried. You definitely jacked up your words just now. It's the day that we're recording this is Friday the 13th. Ooh, I did that backwards. So yeah, I was not permitted to wear my Friday the 13th baseball jersey to work for obvious reasons. So I I just decided to pop it on today because it's one of the best non-official official holiday kind of things. I don't have to have a lot of merchandise for Jason. I have a tattoo of Jason's mask on one of my calves, so we're good. I'm covered. It's in me for life at this point. So yeah, spooky season is in full effect. Horror Nights just announced another house, so now in my Zen mode is about to kick in. It's my realm of destruction.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter yesterday that today is the first, last, and only Friday the 13th of this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Last year there were two. Most of the time we get lucky with two of them a year, sometimes more. But yeah, this year this is the only Friday the 13th. And this is another year that goes by that I did not get a tattoo on Friday the 13th, which is kind of disappointing. That's still on my bucket list of random stupid shit to do. I worked with a girl who she literally, part of her leg was dedicated to just getting Friday the 13th flash tattoos every time an event happened. So she was like a sticker book on her leg. It was great.
Did they put out a Camp Crystal Lake trailer yet?
So Universal announced a teaser trailer today for the Jason house. So
yeah, no, but there's the Camp Crystal Lake show.
Oh, not that I know. I haven't seen anything yet.
They were teasing that they were going to put out, but I don't think I've seen it yet. So
yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
If you were going to put out a trailer for that show,
today would have been the day.
Today would be the day.
Oh, that's earlier today, before Universal announced it, everybody was speculating that they were going to be announcing the Jason house since it was rumored to be happening this year. And Universal, I gotta give Universal's Horror Nights social media page, whoever they have manning that, they are fantastic with their comebacks on social media. If you just look at their replies to comments, because people would be like, it's Friday the 13th, give us the announcement. And they're like, keep waiting. It's just very cut and dry. It's fantastic.
It's planned for a specific time. Just wait.
Yeah, so I think it was great. But yeah, that's weird that they did not announce anything about the show. So maybe before the end of the day, who knows?
Yeah, I just feel like if you were going to put a trailer out or put out this is the premiere date,
yeah,
today would have been the day to announce it. But so far, nothing. So we'll see.
Oh, well, the day is still kind of young over here.
But this week, we are continuing our Frightening Flashback rewatch of the 28 Days Later franchise as we return to 28 weeks later, ahead of the release of 28 years later.
Yay!
28 Weeks Later is the 2007 standalone sequel to 28 Days Later, which has a weird release date because it was 2002 in the UK, it was 2003 pretty much everywhere else.
That's weird.
Yeah. 28 Weeks Later takes place 6 months after the rage virus has inflicted the population of Great Britain, when the US Army decides that they're going to help secure a small area of London so that survivors from Britain that were not in England can repopulate and start again. But obviously, as is the way in horror films, not everything goes to plan.
I love the fact that this movie has to deal with the US, having to come in and save the fucking day again, like everything. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I feel like the US could use everyone else's help right now.
Currently, yeah. It's just one of those things that oh, look, this country needs our help. Let's swoop in and save the day and do a bang up fucking job.
Yeah, I feel like this was a US film company being like, "Hey, that was cool. Let's somehow get America involved in it so it reaches a more broad audience over here."
Yeah, there's that. I mean, to be fair, even though I have a extreme dislike for this whole franchise, I'm hoping that the new one that's coming out kind of uh turns my opinion on it. Um, but I will say that I enjoy this one more than the original one because I just think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the original one was like you said was an indie film and it did not have the biggest budget and this, that, and the other. But I think that the storyline on this one was a little bit better. Like they did a better job of explaining what was happening and stuff. So.
This one feels more cohesive for the length of the movie,
Hmm.
whereas, like, that first one, like we said last week, feels like a movie made in 2 halves,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas this one is one continuous story throughout.
Hmm.
In terms of the cast, this one stars Robert Carlyle from Trainspotting and Full Monty fame, and I found out that he previously turned down the role of the Major Henry West from the first one, which ended up being played by Christopher Eccleston.
That's interesting. Huh. That is
So, yeah, interesting
interesting.
little twist there. We also have Rose Byrne from Star Wars Episode 2, Troy, Insidious, and Peter Rabbit fame. Nice. Jeremy Renner pops up in this one, which I totally forgot about until I turned it on. I was like, "Hey, that's
Yes.
Hawkeye."
Yeah, I was watching the trailer and I was like, is that Jeremy Renner? There's no fucking way. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh shit.
So, yeah, there's a pretty again, like, a pretty stacked cast when you look back
Idris
at it
Elba is in
compared
this
to
too. He's got a small little bit part in here. Not very much
Yep.
screen time for him, but he is in here.
Yeah, you've got Idris Elba, Harold Perrineau from Zero Dark 30, Oz, Sons of Anarchy, Imogen Poots from V for Vendetta, and Catherine McCormick from Braveheart and Slow Horses, the Apple TV show, which is, like, apparently very, very good. I just
Hmm,
haven't got around to watching it yet.
hmm.
Yeah, pretty stacked cast and enjoyable film overall.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely like you said, definitely more cohesive. It does not feel like two halves put into one movie. There's definitely like an even play. There's also not a lot of quiet moments in this movie. I feel like it is all like from when everything starts to go to shit. There is no like calm or like just peace and planning things out. It is just balls to the walls insanity.
Yeah, there's more action in this one. It's less like there is some character growth and development in this one, but it's less about the characters and more about the shit show that happens once the outbreak
Happens.
breaks containment again. So
Yeah.
if we go into sort of breaking it down in details, I think the most like memorable scene from this one is the opening sequence with the small group of survivors with the husband and wife and a few others sort of all taking refuge in this like little cottage that they've boarded up all the windows because like they're just trying to make it so that if any infected run past, they're not going to like see them. So it's just like they're living in the darkness, just trying to get by, hoping that if we stay in here and stay quiet, we can just ride this out until everything dies. And they're resorting to sort of burning books for heat and cooking. They only got tin food to live on. And yeah, we learn that the husband and wife, their kids were away on a school trip in Spain and they're kind of just hoping that they're fine. So this is like carrying on from the first movie where the idea that this is really contained to just Britain.
Yeah.
Whereas like in that first one, they kind of alluded to it spreading, but they don't convey that until this one where after this opening sequence, which like they hear a kid knock on the door and then they make the grave mistake of letting kid in
Yeah.
and everything goes to shit.
Yeah. I also
What did you
like
think of the opening sequence?
well, I love this. I love how they've adapted to their surroundings. Down to like the little details where the eventual like downfall of their whole setup is that the girl that's with them, she's looking for her boyfriend and she is convinced that he is out there and he is okay. So she takes out like these pieces of cloth that they have shoved into every like crevice that you can think of that would let light in. Like I really love how they just went in and you can really see that they were very aware of what they needed to do and she just thinks that oh it's okay, I'm just gonna peek out really quick and then gets fucked. Honestly, this opening sequence was really crazy too, because even though you only just met these characters, they did a really great job of pulling on your emotions. Because, you know, Robert Carlyle, his character and his wife are there, and he has to make an unfortunate decision, a life or death situation kind of moment. The older couple that is with them, like, you just, the wife sees her husband like sacrifice himself for her. She gets killed in the process too. Like, it is a very like gripping moment. And it kind of sets the tone for the whole movie of, like, you don't know it at that point, but it is a very family oriented kind of film in a weird sense. And they really do foreshadow that kind of in this, for me at least.
Yeah, and it's about, like, will you sacrifice yourself to save
Hmm.
your loved ones, and, like, they do a great job of, like, in that very opening sequence, like you said, the older couple, the husband sacrifices himself to try and save the wife,
Yeah.
whereas then the Robert Carlyle character is just a total dickhead and is like, "Peace,"
You're dead, sorry. Like, I'm
gives
not
his
going to
wife
save you.
the most haunting scene is, like, as he bails out of the building and is just running through the field, you
Yeah.
look back and you see his wife, like, in the window screaming, like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, 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 it's very intense. Also, apparently the infected can't swim very well. Um,
Mhm.
they never really covered, like, that at all,
It
but
doesn't help that he, like, hits one with an outboard motor.
yeah, that's very true, but, like, it seemed like when once they hit water, they just totally didn't know what to do in their water. They're, like, flapping all over the damn place and just trying to get in the boat, which I
Mhm.
found really funny. I'm like, "Ooh, are they, like, not able to swim anymore? Is that a thing? Like, that your bodies just don't know what to do anymore?" So yeah, this was a really strong opening scene for me. Honestly, like I've said, like, this opening sequence was a lot better than the opening sequence for the original film. I'm not a big fan of the original opening with the monkeys and stuff like that. Like, it's just very messy. Like, that whole infiltrating thing was kind of messy.
Yeah, I guess that's just because they're trying to, like, establish, like, where the virus came from, whereas this one, they can just, like, throw
Yeah.
you right into the chaos.
Yeah, right. You get thrown into like a moment of survival essentially, and how these people have had to adapt to this now. So, yeah, it's a very fun and kept me more enthused to watch the rest of the movie.
Yep. And this opening sequence is directed by Danny Boyle, the
Hmm.
director of the original, and I feel like that shows because, like, for me, this is the best sequence in the movie.
Hmm. The camera footage in this one, like especially in the opening sequence, as compared to the rest of the film, is very reminiscent of the original, where it's very shaky. Things are out of focus. You keep panning left and right, like in a very fast motion. There is no like, smooth transitions between like looking forward and running, and then looking back at the house. It's just very like shaky camera footage.
Yeah, and you get, like, all these, like, weird angle
Hmm.
shots too that, like, just kinda leave you a little bit, like, feeling uncomfortable and unsettled because 'cause you're like, "This isn't." It just doesn't feel right watching it when it's,
Yeah.
like, tilted.
Hmm.
And then the movie gives us more context for the outbreak as a whole and what's happened over the last 6 months. We see this is where it's revealed that, like, this is really just been confined to Britain. It hasn't spread outside of England at all. You have in the first 15 days, mainland Britain was just quarantined, so they just went, "Nope, peace out.
Hmm. Yep.
This is all on you guys."
Have fun.
In 28 days, mainland Britain was destroyed. 5 weeks later, the infected had started to die. 11 weeks later, the US-led NATO force enters London. In 18 weeks, they declare Britain free of infection. After 24 weeks, they begin reconstruction. And then 28 weeks later, this portion of the film unfolds where they're starting to bring back sort of British refugees, including the kids of the family we were just introduced to.
Yep. Who are totally like, you can really see their I feel like the kids have the biggest character development in this entire movie, because they're both so innocent and like just kid like in the original, like in the beginning of the film, and then you see them progress because they have to go through so much shit at such a young age, that you really do see them just like develop into like young adults essentially.
And I love that, like, we carry over the shots from the original of, like, jets flying over and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, we're introduced to the stringent medical screenings that are required to get back into Britain,
Yeah.
kind of very COVID.
COVID, like, yes,
This
very
this
much.
whole series is very COVID-like, so holy Jesus. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see 28 years later what that sort of predicts for the future.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. The trailers are very, very strange for the new one. But I looking back, just total side note, looking back at the trailers for all of these movies now combined, they are all very just like mysterious. Like they're not descriptive at all. They're just random shots of the movie, and the new one is just so haunting again. Like you just don't know what to really expect because they aren't giving you anything other than just random shots of the film. Like you have nothing to go off of. Not even a storyline.
Yeah, they're classic movie trailers. Like, movie trailers these days kinda give you
Everything.
they lay everything out for you, like, here's what the plot is, here's
Mhm.
what you need to know going into it, whereas back in the early 2000s, it was like, "We're just gonna set the feeling and the tone of what this movie is, we're not gonna really tell you shit." We
Yes.
might show you a couple of, like, big moments that are like, "Here's a cool thing you need to get excited for," but
Yeah.
they really didn't tell you what the movie was about, which is what this new trailer does.
Yeah, it's almost like a nostalgic movie trailer because when you look at movies from like the like 80s and stuff like that in the 70s, especially like horror movies and stuff, it would just be like, and tonight they had no idea what was coming. And then they just like pan to like a random kill shot almost. And then it's just like dark. And it just runs the title and that's it. And I'm like, these are so nostalgic. I kind of wish that they would go back to that style for movies because I feel like you lose so much now, especially with certain movies just completely spoiling their own shit in trailers. Like that was my biggest upset with Thor Love and Thunder is that you saw Natalie Portman's character wielding Thor's fucking hammer. And I'm like, that was like a big fucking reveal. Why would you put that in the goddamn trailer? Like we all knew it was coming, but why would you do that? So
Mhm.
I really wish we would just go back to this style of very like very strange trailers that don't mean any sense at all until you actually go see it because then I want to go see it.
Also, like, the problem of how many trailers they put out these days too, like,
Yes.
you used to get 1.
Mhm.
It was the trailer for the movie, and that was it, and now you get, like, "Here's the teaser, now
Yeah.
here's the trailer, here's the release trailer,"
Mhm.
and, like, maybe another one, like, I think Superman has already got 2 or 3 trailers out.
That's crazy to me.
That's a lot of trailers for
Yeah,
one movie,
I thought it was crazy like
but
when
they have
they
done a good job of not really spoiling too much in that, like, those
that's
trailers are just, like, cool action sequences, and that's about it. I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck's going on in this movie."
I feel like they started this trailer train when red band trailers started coming out for like R-rated films because they would do
Mhm.
like the main release trailer and then you get the red band trailer in the movie theater where they were like cursing and I was like, okay, like I don't understand why we needed a secondary one. Like we all know what they're fucking saying in Deadpool. Like, like I just and so I think from there it just kind of spiraled out to ooh, we need more trailers to hype up the enthusiasm of a movie. Just I don't know. I
Yeah.
I like back to basics kind of things. So that's why I'm kind of hopeful for this new movie.
They'll put another one out on release day as well, like,
Yeah.
"Here's the release trailer." It's like, "Okay, cool." Just so you know, the movie's out now.
Yeah, it's just like when they used to have midnight showings and then they bumped it up to like 7 o'clock on Thursdays instead of like midnight on Thursdays. And now you can fucking go see it on a Wednesday. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there is no midnight release anymore. Like all that fun shit is gone.
Yeah, what's the point of saying it comes out on this day if there's I
Two
think,
day
like, the Superman one's, like, a week early.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
Like
if
that's
you're a
what I'm
Prime member,
saying.
you can go and see it, like, way early. It's like, "Okay."
Yeah, it's like, what's the point? Like, I understand previews and like, screenings for people, but to just blatantly release it, like, oh, we're gonna release it early a couple days. It's not early. Just say that the fucking date changed. Okay, you need money.
So back to 28 weeks later, the we find out that the kid has or the male kid has 2 different eye colors, and, like, that becomes a big storyline part throughout the movie. What did you think of that part and the revelation that these are the kids from the couple at the start?
When I saw that, I'll be 100% honest with you. I thought of X-Men. I was like, that kid's a mutant. I was like, that's one of the mutants in X-Men. So there's got to be
Well,
something
they
afoot here.
it kinda is.
I was like, this is genius. So yeah, I think it is really cool that they gave one of the main characters this unique eye color thing that we discover is genetic and it doesn't always get passed on. So it is a genetic trait, which also makes you think what other genetic traits could he have, or that could
Mhm.
have. It's also revealed that he is the youngest person to be readmitted into the city. which is really cool. So I
Yeah.
think that says a lot about his character, and almost like puts pressure on him to like, oh wow, I have this really unique eye thing, and oh, I'm really, really young and nobody else is like me. This is really cool kind of thing.
Yeah, when it's revealed that they are the kids of the like, the couple from the opening and they talk about how, "Oh, this genetic thing, like, gets passed down from family members, not everyone gets it." And he says, "Oh, yeah, my mum had that." I rewound to watch, like, the opening sequence again to see if we can spot it in the mother's eyes, but there's no, like, real close-up shots of her face where you could pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, because
The
everything's
only
kind of
time you
just like
actually
panned.
see her eyes are later when, spoiler, they find her still alive somehow and bring her back to the quarantine zone and, like, lock her away, and, like, that's when you get a close-up of her eyes and you go, "Oh, yeah, she got it too."
Yeah.
I do love that, like, yeah, you mentioned he's the youngest person there. There's 15,000 people living in District 1, which is the only designated safe zone in London, and outside that, we see all of the soldiers removing just bags and bags and bags of biohazard and burning any sort of remains that are left. And I love that for that moment, they use a lot of, like, CCTV footage because, like,
Mhm.
I believe London is the most covered, like, CCTV city in the world.
That's
So,
interesting.
like, to have that, like, style of footage used to, like, "Look, we don't need to, like, have these cameras roaming around, like, there is a reason that we have all of this footage of how London turned to shit and how we're cleaning it up."
Yeah, it is really unique that they were able to use that to their advantage.
Explain that they still kinda don't really understand the virus, like, they talk about how all we know is it didn't cross species, so it's only well, it kinda did cross species because it went from monkeys to human, but it
Ape, I guess they're factoring in that whole we are related to monkeys,
I think what they're trying
DNA
to say is, like, it didn't go
shenanigans.
from humans to, like, dogs and cats and stuff, so, like, any pets and stuff, they're fine, like, we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about those, we can still hunt, like, rabbit and stuff and, like, eat that, and then they say that it
Mhm.
also didn't go airborne, and then that's where we're introduced to Idris Elba and the heavy military presence in this area, and, like, I love how they're still sort of yeah, it's only been, what, 6 months, so, like, yeah, the virus is still kinda new and, like, they haven't had an opportunity to really study it because 'cause they've just been like, "We just gotta let England kinda just die out before we even go back in there because it's too dangerous."
Yeah, it's a very, interesting approach to, the quarantine situation for the most part.
Which is why when they do find the mother, it's like, "All hands on deck, we need to get this girl and study the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
Take her blood, study everything about her," and, yeah, makes for interesting and sets up a lot of openings for carrying the story on.
Yes. Yeah, it is very unique. I like the fact that they were just like, "How did you survive so long? Like, you're the only survivor we found for X amount of time." And you can see she's definitely, like, stored up in an attic, like, so no one could find her, which was really smart on her part because she understood the assignment of, "Oh, I need to probably hide and make sure I don't make any fucking noise, so I'm gonna pad everything and just pretend I'm not here."
Especially because, like, she's clearly realized that she has, like, some form of, like, immunity to the virus because, like, we literally saw her getting bitten and stuff.
Yeah.
So she didn't turn, but, like, she also realizes that, like, I might not be able to get infected, but these things can just rip me apart. So
Yeah.
I need to just hide away anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like she just went, "Oh, I'm immune. I can just do whatever I want. I'll just go and live my normal life." She was still just like, "It's messed up here."
Yeah, and the state that they find her in, you're not really 100% sure if she's not really affected by getting bitten because she's in such a feral state. Like, she does look very feral when they find her, and you can't really tell if it's because she's just, like, crazy because she hasn't seen human people, like, that are not infected in so long, or if it's just something different. So, they did a really great job of making her character, very, like, suspicious almost and just totally, totally strange.
Yeah, they do a great job of, like, really amping up the sort of the horror aspect of it in the opening portions where we're like or even later, like, when we're getting flashes of the dead mother from,
Mhm.
like, the kids and them sort of finding out, like, what their dad did. So the kids are having, like, flashes of seeing their mother even though they presume she's dead.
Yeah.
And then later when the infection starts spreading, the kids are having flashes of, like, their father and other things of, like, "Did I just see that? Like, is that real? What?" And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, really good use of, like, horror tropes of, "Is that real? Is that fake?" Like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Compared to the first one, which was just, like, the only really times you got, like, horror elements was when you saw the infected, and I was like, "Oh, they're literally there."
Yeah, this definitely plays on your senses a little bit more of, am I hallucinating? Am I just tired? Did I really see that person like attack somebody else or my mind playing tricks on me? So yeah, it is I like the fact that it's still not like a full blown like, slasher movie or like, monster like killer monster movie or whatever. But it is definitely suspenseful. I think it is more suspenseful than the original one in the fact that they do a better job of fucking with your mind.
Yeah, that first one is a survival movie. This one is much more a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Are you a trading card collector or a fan of Australian pro wrestling? If so, you're not going to want to miss out on the limited edition Australian wrestling cards. Each set includes 50 packs of 10 cards, including some of the country's top wrestling talents like Robbie Eagles, Shane Haste, Madison Eagles, Hartley Jackson, and they have Shaza McKenzie listed, although she is not a favorite. The velocities, and a lot more. There's wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators that are featured, giving you a full appreciation of the Australian independent scene. The cards sold out a lot faster because cards are hot right now, as I'm sure Jeremy Lambert will tell you. But you can order your Australian wrestling cards now at Pario Magazine. That's PARIO magazine.com.au/AUS WRES cards. Follow Australian Wrestling Cards on social media at AusResCards for updates. Join the hundreds of fans who have already discovered the excitement of Australian wrestling cards.
And we also get, like, more continuation of, like, explaining the virus, like, when the mother is caught, they see the bite scar on her, suggesting that, yeah, she is immune, and then we explain, like, the virus is in her blood and her saliva, so she's not technically immune, she's a carrier of the virus, so they're like, "What does that mean? Like, how can we potentially use that to create a vaccine or a cure?"
Yeah.
And the major is just like, "Just kill her." And the doctor is just like, "Uh, no, like, if we kill her, we're screwed, like, she could be the key to potentially getting us out of this crappy situation."
Yeah, she's the first and only of her kind that they are aware of. So obviously, like the scientists want to keep her around for studying and stuff like that. And when they're examining her, you can kind of see again where you don't quite know how it is affecting her, the virus itself, because she does seem to be a little bit on edge. Like when they go to take her blood, like you can't really tell if she's going to attack them or not because she gets very tense and her face almost wants to turn but doesn't quite do it. You just see her eye go kind of fucky, which I think is a really
Mhm.
cool way of like showing that she is slightly different in a mutation of the virus. Actually really like that little touch.
And then, like, ultimately, before they find her, the way they find her is the kids sneak out of the quarantine zone, like classic little kids.
Kids.
What did you think of them sort of just running through the streets yelling with, like, really no awareness of, like, how dangerous that potentially could be? They're just like, "Well, whatever, we're just gonna steal this moped, ride around, yell and scream as we're running through the streets." I'm like, "Dude, you know that the only, like, 100% safe zone is the quarantine zone.
Yeah, like they've
They
got
assume everything is dead out here. They're not guaranteeing it."
yeah, they have nothing to go off of. They're just I think because they're kids, they just don't really take into consideration the consequences of their actions of making all of this noise and drawing all of this attention to themselves. Especially because like they mentioned earlier is that the infected people have died off from starvation. So anything that they are going to come across now in these regions that they go into or any of these areas that they go into, they're going to be absolutely like bloodlust essentially because they have been cut off from their supply. So it's kind of concerning that they are just so carefree and don't even realize it.
There is one shot in that sequence, though, that I really love where they're riding the moped through the middle of, like, a massive cemetery.
Mhm.
I was like, "That is, like, so symbolic of them just being surrounded by death
Yeah.
and just, like, being carefree." Like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, hang on, guys."
It's just another day in the park literally.
did really enjoy too when the father is informed that they did find the mother,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like, "Uh-oh, uh, all of my lies are gonna come crumbling down around me right now."
Yeah, he's like, I fucked up. Like hard. You just see the entire like all of his like blood just drains from his face and he's just like, yep, I'm fucked. Like I'm done for.
Yeah, this is where Robert Carlyle, like, acts his ass off in this sequence.
Yeah, I like him as an actor, but his character in this movie, like he did a really good job of making me hate his character. Like originally I was like, "Oh, wow, I feel so bad for him. He lost his wife. He hasn't seen his kids in literally like
Oh,
6
I
months."
immediately hated him when he was just like, "Peace."
But yeah, but like I don't know. I didn't think it was malicious. I think he was cutting his losses ahead of time and realizing that he wasn't going to save her, but whatever. I try to think better of people maybe. But yeah,
Oh, well, I know I'm screwed if there's ever a zombie apocalypse.
it's fine. You're fine. I'm going to save the dog, so we're good. Priorities. Toby and Buddy and then you and Chloe. Chloe knows where she falls in this line, so I don't know why you're surprised. Um
Well,
but yeah, I hate him so much in this movie after it's revealed. I do appreciate his wife on every aspect though. Like she is fantastic when they have their final like encounter with each other after this long period of time. I think it's fantastic.
I like when he's, like, explaining to the kids, like, what happened, and the kid's like he denies, "I didn't see her die." And they're like, "You told us that." And then he goes, "No, technically, I did not use those words."
Yeah,
I'm
like
like, "Using a technicality when you're lying to your kids? No. What
yeah,
are you doing?
it's
You're an ass."
God, why would you do that? You're making it so much worse.
And then, yeah, like, he attempts to apologize to his wife and makes the fatal mistake of kissing her after we've been informed that the virus is in her saliva.
Mhm.
I did find it kinda dumb that y yes, he's working as the caretaker in the building that they live in, so he has a AAA access pass,
Yeah.
which, yes, will, when he does get infected, allow him to spread the infection rapidly because he can technically access all areas.
Yeah.
I highly doubt the military would allow his AAA access pass to get him into a high security quarantine zone where there's a person that they know has the infection
Yeah, I feel like they probably would have, like,
with no
shut
security
down
around.
I feel like they would have shut down some key cards at that point, like, anything that's not, like, doctors and or, like, military personnel exactly, like, janitors, cook staff, all of that would have been shut down immediately, but, it
Yeah,
is what it
you
is.
need a top security, like, classified pass to get into this section,
Yeah. I also love the fact
not
that
the cleaner's pass.
the kids in this movie are they do like that typical like horror movie scene where they're like, "Oh, it's probably nothing. It's nothing to worry about. Don't worry." And then literally someone just gets killed like 2 seconds later in front of them. They're like, "Oh, we need to panic."
Mhm. After the, like, dad's infected, we get the trademark of this movie, the eye gouge scene where he, like, bites his wife, absolutely just beats the absolute crap out of her,
Ugh.
and then gouges her eyes out. I'm like, "Oh, there we go.
Yep.
There's the
And,
signature
ugh.
death sequence, which they have to carry over into 28 years
Yeah,
later."
we don't we can't have it without the triple threat kind of moment. Yeah, it'll never get easier. Also, the killing in this film, like the attacks are so much more brutal than the first one. Especially Carlyle's character. Like, I feel like this movie, you see a progression in the infected and the virus itself because in the 28 days later, a lot of the infected people that they came across, they just seemed very brainless and like, I need to kill something. Robert Carlyle's character is very calculating. Like, he knows who he's looking for, is what it seems like. Every time he finds somebody to kill, he looks at them and he kills them because obviously, but you can tell he is on the hunt for someone different.
Oh, yeah, he's specifically hunting out younger
Yeah.
kids.
So it is very interesting to see that like the virus he has it, but he is not completely like lost his like conscious of like his family and stuff like that. It's very interesting.
And even, like, once the outbreak spreads and the infected start to just get everywhere, even the snipers and the shots were shown of them taking out infected is pretty brutal too. Like, we see arms and legs getting blown off. It's like,
Just
Yeah, they didn't hold back on this movie at all.
No, it's just clear, like, headshots after headshots. If we can't get a clear shot, we're gonna grenade them, like, it doesn't matter. And, eventually they get to that point where all hell breaks loose, they realize that they cannot contain this into one spot. And they're, like, doing anything that normal, typical American military would do in this situation. Boom. Big boom. Let's just blow everything up.
Yeah, because Idris Elba signals that we're in code red now, so we find out that there are 3 stages to a code red protocol, which is step 1, kill all the infected, which is how they start out, and they're just like, the snipers are taking very specific shots at only infected, and then they're like, there are too many, we can't do this. So they go to a containment strategy, which is like trying to just lock people away, lock down sections, keep the infected in a specific section.
Yeah.
And then that fails, so they just go into exterminate everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, start firebombing, gassing, just whatever it takes, kill everything inside.
Yeah. The gassing stuff is like, that was a really intense. Later on we get to it's one of my favorite sequences actually. This whole movie probably is the car scene. And that is such an intense moment to see, because the kids in that sequence, they look terrified. Like, and I don't know if it was just really good acting, or if maybe they did something to not prepare the kids for how intense that was going to be. But there is like a moment where they feel like everything is calm, and then they get the shit scared out of them. And I'm like, yeah, that would scare me too. So I think it was that's one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie, probably.
Yeah, that scene was reworked too, because it was originally supposed to be the doctor that gets out and pushes the car and dies. And then they switched it to the Jeremy Renner character he gets out and pushes the car and gets burned alive.
Ugh.
Because like they realized that it would be a little bit more impactful if it was the doctor like just trying to save the kids rather than the soldier.
Yeah.
And once like they go into that lockdown procedure with these civilians and getting kind of locked into quarantine zones, and then the infected dad like breaks into that zone because he has the all access pass, which
Again.
turn them off. Jesus.
Yeah. Why have we not turned off the badge readers yet? Like, also, they cut the generators and the power. How are the doors still locked? That's another thing that just no one's talking about.
But yeah, when he breaks in, like I love the way he spreads the virus. Like the first person he spreads it to, it's not like a bite. He just vomits blood all over them.
Oh,
like,
it was so gnarly. There are parts of this that make my stomach turn, and I'm just like, there are so many other ways you could have killed somebody or infected someone, but no, you just chose to throw up blood onto them. Good job.
And then like in that sequence, we're kind of the only lights we have are flashlights, which really makes this scene feel mega chaotic because it's nearly impossible to tell the difference between civilian and infected.
Yeah, it is rough. It reminds me of almost like that movie The Descent, where they're stuck in that cave with like those the weird fucking inbred people. That was like with all the red flare lights and shit like that at one point. So I'm just like, this is very reminiscent of that. And that movie actually makes me kind of like for motion bullshit. But yeah, this sequence was really hard for me to watch because number one, they're all locked in this basement thing. So it's a very tight quarters, which made me almost claustrophobic watching this. And then just to see like flashlights flashing everywhere, it's all fucking chaos at that point.
And then, yeah, that's when we get the iconic theme song playing. I'm glad that carried over. I'm excited to see where and how that continues in the new one. Like, you have to have the theme song, you have to have the eye gouge, and then the infected. So I'll be keen for that. Yeah, we talked about the firebombing and the gassing, which is pretty brutal that they go to chemical weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just got this really dire, hopeless sense of hopelessness when they are in the car trying to escape through the gassings and all of that sort of stuff. Juxtaposed by the place where they find refuge is a carnival. It's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, and that's probably the only moment where there's peace. It's like so calm, and you almost feel like they've been taken out of like they're almost like in a different world essentially, because everything is just so calm and quiet. And nothing seems to be touched for like such a long time in that area, which doesn't last very long, but it is just so interesting to see that they actually have a moment to breathe.
And then we get probably the most epic action sequence of the film with the helicopter pilot coming in and just using the blades of the helicopter to take out a bunch of the horde of infected.
Yeah, that was great. Like for a 2000s movie, the CG is probably on point with that time period. Because now looking back at it, it looks pretty pretty rough. But I still think that it's such a cool kill scene where the guy's like, I've got no other fucking choice. I'm just gonna like lawnmower them essentially in my helicopter.
Out of here, Wembley Stadium becomes the new sort of safety. That's where we need to get to. They couldn't use Wembley for this movie because it was at the time under a massive like redevelopment. So they used the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff as a replacement fill-in.
Interesting. Are they
Just
like
fun.
similar in structure, or did they just like kind of do really good editing to make it look very similar?
I think like the outside, like the big arch thing, they obviously used Wembley for that because I'm pretty sure that was there the entire time. But then for the scenes at the end where they're in the stadium, that's inside Millennium Stadium instead.
Interesting.
Another sort of chaotic sequence that we get is when the doctor and the kids have to go down into the sort of the subway tunnels.
Yes.
We basically have to watch that through a night vision scope, which is really rough.
Ugh. Yeah, I hate this scene. It's probably my least.
It's also dumb too, like with how close the kids are to the night vision scope.
Yeah.
If that was true, the doctor would have been seeing about this much of their face.
Yeah, it's
'Cause that zoomed in, they'd have been like, I can see all of the pores in your cheek. I
yeah,
can't see what's around you at all.
it was rough. I hate the way like I give them credit for filming it the way that they did and making it feel pretty surreal, like you were looking through a night scope for the kids. However, it fucked with my head. I don't like when things are filmed like this. And on top of that, also, it looked like the subway had some light in it, like some lighting in it from when they're coming down from upstairs. So it wasn't really necessary for her to use the night vision scope necessarily because they still had plenty of light to look down. But yeah, that was a pretty strange scene. Also, have we learned anything like just stay out of the fucking tunnels? Like they got raided in the first one in a fucking tunnel. Now we're going into a subway, which is never a good thing. Like, yeah, let's go further underground where it's dark and things might be looming as like a good safe space. Like that does not sound good.
And when you like literally only have one way in and out.
Yeah, like there's no rhyme or reason to that. That's like saying if New York is under attack, I'm going to go down into the metro. Like no, I am not going to go into the metro. Like that's where giant rats are, and that's where literally like just people hide. Like, no, I don't want any of that.
And then obviously the kids have to make the ultimate sacrifice too when the father attacks them and bites the boy. The daughter has to shoot the father in the head to
Yes.
take him out. And then Andy, the little boy, runs away thinking, oh no, I've been bitten. I don't want to turn and then attack my sister.
Yep.
And that's how we're introduced to it. Oh, he's also got the same genetic mutation as his mother and he doesn't turn. He just ends up being a carrier of the virus.
Yeah. Yep. Also, shooting back really quick to that night vision scene, I just need to say that doctor lady, her falling and sliding down a bunch of dead bodies and shit with the kids was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like in my head, I was like, it's like a water slide of dead people.
Ugh. That's a nasty slide.
I just wanted to see your reaction when I said water slide of dead people. That was crazy though. The dad attacking the kid is a really insane kind of shot too, because it's almost like he holds back a little bit just to fuck with his kid and then just go in for the kill, which is really sad too. And it makes you wonder, like, I understand that this virus is supposed to be all about rage. So it makes me wonder if he was harboring some strange, like, resentment towards his kids because they didn't believe him and like accused him of lying, even though he did. So,
and I think like that's like potentially suggesting that the virus is mutating in certain ways and evolving
yeah.
so that it can be more effective, which makes me wonder, like, for 28 years later, how has it evolved? Because it has had so much longer now to evolve. It's had 28 years, not 6 months.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see how different the infected are in this new one, whether they're sort of less zombie, brain dead, just kill everything, and more
Yeah.
sort of strategic.
Yeah,
thinking about what
if they're more like
they
grouped.
haven't like given any teasers of that in the trailer. In the trailer, they are just brain dead monsters still.
Yeah, it makes you think if they've evolved to a point where like they can be civilized amongst themselves almost. Like if they've just like figured a way to communicate with each other where because obviously they you never see an infected person killing another infected person or biting each other. So it makes you wonder if the virus mutates that after that long into something where they're able to have like a cohesive like place of their own where they can strategically plan things at this point, you know, especially if they've evolved to where they realize we need food, we need to find food. Let's go find food.
I could see them sort of being to the point where they're like hunting now, like they're
Hmm.
separating and like
Going in
using
packs.
hunting techniques to
Yeah.
catch things. So interesting to see
Uh,
how that goes. And obviously, for that to happen, for the virus to spread outside Britain, we see the family or the kids and the doctor make it to Wembley, get in the helicopter, flies out over the white cliffs of Dover towards Paris, and then we get the closing shot, which was a last minute addition to the movie. Initially, the script ends with the shot of the helicopter landing and parking in France, and that's it.
mhm.
But we get an extra addition here where uh, we see a group of infected running towards the Eiffel Tower, which suggests that somehow the virus has made it to mainland Europe, which obviously once it gets there, it can basically go anywhere. And yeah, this scene was added. So 2 days before they locked off editing and were about to hand the final product over to Fox for distribution, the writer director uh, Juan Carlos Fresnadillo and writer producer Enrique Lopez Levine with their producer flew to Paris and shot this scene that the film now ends on. And they shot it completely guerrilla style. They just went in with 3 crew, 12 local actors that they
Yeah.
hired on the day, and 1 camera,
I love it.
and just
It's so crazy to
filmed
me.
them running. And it's such a great closing shot of like, oh shit,
Yeah.
it's here.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
I love that because now, even though this third movie and third installment has taken this long to come to fruition, I love the fact that they ended as if they were already planning a third one and then obviously just got delayed, which I'm pretty sure was the plan. But on top
Mhm.
of that, it makes you wonder now if the third movie is going to be more regional and like show you different regions of like Europe and UK, or if it's just going to be like who knows.
I would assume it's more European and less straight British, but we'll see.
Yeah, it would be I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I saw an interview with Ray Fiennes. I think he's in the
Mhm.
new one. Yeah, I saw an interview with
Mhm.
him briefly. I think it was on like TikTok or something like that about his character. And he was talking about his character that he's going to be playing. And I did not realize he was going to be in this movie. So now regardless, I will be seeing this because Voldemort can do no fucking wrong. So I'm really curious to see where this goes because like you said, there's the one trailer and then there's a couple like little snippet interviews now with some of the cast, but we don't really know anything else other than you know what's on like IMDb and stuff like that, and even that is very very minimal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they incorporate, and I think skipping 28 months later, it feels weird that there is this big gap of, oh, we did days, weeks, but then we skipped months and went to years. Like it feels
Yeah,
weird, yeah, but like what could you have done in 28 months that would have drastically changed? Like I feel like it would have just been, oh, now it's spreading through Europe.
yeah,
So
it
yeah,
would have
I
been.
think skipping to 28 years later gives you more opportunity to make big changes and have it make sense because it has had so long for the world to crumble further and then also a chance to rebuild somewhat and how people are living with this virus still running rampant.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like essentially if they had released a 28 months later, you know, a few years back or something like that, it would have essentially been this movie that we're going to be getting now, just with a smaller time span between, and probably not nearly as good. I mean, 2.5 years, say, is not that great of a time span to give something time to like marinate essentially, and grow and or get completely eradicated. So like you said, like I think like 28 years later, even though it does seem kind of strange and it fucks with my OCD, the fact that they did not go in order, I think it does make a lot of sense that they have that long time span in between. I'm also really interested to see how the film style is going to be in this, because the shots that we've seen in the trailer, even though they are small, they seem very on point with the rest of the shaky camera footage. And I don't know if that's just for the trailer purposes or if that's going to be how the movie is also filmed. But a lot of the scenes that we've seen in that small little snippet have been kind of grainy almost and very like raw.
Some of the stills I've seen, they seem to incorporate a lot of that sort of chaotic handheld footage that we've got from the previous two, but they also do have the big grand wide angle cinematic shots of like, here's a beautiful vista that is just like, oh look, there's some zombies in the background.
Yeah.
It's beautiful up close, but then in the background there's this looming threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be fun.
In terms of trivia for 28 Weeks Later, the budget for this was so basically double. They went up to $15 million, but their box office came down a little bit. They made $65.8 million total, but they made nearly $10 million in the opening weekend, coming in second to Spider-Man 3.
Oh, that's not necessarily saying a whole lot because Spider-Man 3 was pretty fucking trash.
It wasn't the best Spider-Man, but it was
No,
fine.
it was okay.
I'm expecting huge numbers for 28 Weeks Later because I think in pre-sales, I think they're like one of the highest selling movies. I think they're the highest selling horror movie of the year so far.
Yeah, and I don't think it comes out, I think, what, June 20th over here, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's a lot coming out right at that same time. I think there's like a good like break almost between like pretty big movies, essentially, like summer blockbusters. I
Oh,
feel like they've spaced it out a lot.
they're lucky they're coming out in June, not July. If they were coming out next month, they'd be screwed.
Yeah, because F1 comes out next month. Jurassic Park, I think, comes out next month as well, right?
F1 is the week after 28 Weeks Later.
Okay.
And then you have Jurassic Park, and then you have Fantastic Four,
And Superman somewhere in between.
and then Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, so
It's like,
they timed it
well,
perfectly.
it might be Jurassic Park, Superman, Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
It's like July is ridiculous.
Stacked.
So
Yeah, so they
good to
picked a
get out.
perfect they got a perfect time where it's right as the summer blockbuster season is coming to a head. I feel like if they had released this later in the year, like during like spooky season, I feel like it would be expected. And it wouldn't necessarily be like poorly received, but I think it would just be one of those like generic throw it in the bag as a generic horror movie kind of thing. Whereas with it coming out in the summer, I think more people are going to be keen to go see it because it's not your typical summer action movie that we're all used to seeing.
And then the last note I had written down was, so all of the night scenes in this movie are filmed in a very unique way. They were shot in a day for night style. So they filmed during the day and then in post-production created editing to make it look like night, because obviously with the way they filmed it, they needed all of the lights in London to be off. So if they'd filmed that in the night, it would have been incredibly expensive to go in and VFX and edit out all of the lights in all of the skyscrapers. So by
Yeah.
filming it during the day, the lights aren't going to be on.
That's
So then they did this
interesting.
that blue-like technique to make it look like nighttime. And yeah, I think they look great. Like this is how night scenes should be filmed
Yeah,
compared
because
to Game of Thrones night scenes where you're like, I can't see shit. It's just
yeah.
dark.
Yeah, because if you think about like now that you say that, like looking back, a lot of the evening sequences, it's not like it's pitch black like what we are used to seeing, like you said with Game of Thrones. They're gray. They're very gray, like
Yeah,
monotone kind of things, and I love
the
it.
classic like 90s, early 2000s night scene, it's just blue. You're like,
Yeah,
okay, that's nighttime.
yeah, like
I love
dusk kind of times
just
and
put the
shit.
blue overlay on it, and I just go, yeah, that's nighttime.
Yeah, I don't have to fucking adjust the contrast on my goddamn like, TV screen to be like super light and then super like I don't know. I love Game of Thrones, but yeah, some of those fucking dark sequences were just like, god damn, I can't see shit things. So
Yeah, if you have any window open, you're like, no, can't see anything.
yeah, it's awful.
You have to be in a pitch black room and brightness all the way up to be able to see anything. So
Yeah.
much prefer this style. In terms of a rating, what would you give 28 Weeks Later?
I will probably give this one like this is a high 3 because it's not quite a 4 yet, but this is more on my line of a 3-4 versus a 3-2, like the last movie.
Yep.
So that's where I am with this one. It's a 3 leaning towards the 4 side.
Okay, yeah, we've basically done the same thing. Like,
yeah,
you went from a low 3 to a high 3. I went from a high 3 to a low 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in around. I think we're closer in
this
range
one
this time in terms of like enjoying the movie. But yeah, so I gave this a 4 out of 5. But
yeah,
we're right there on that
we're in the cusp.
edge of on either way. Alrighty, thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. We shall be back next week with 28 Years Later. You can follow Corrina on Instagram at Miss Corrina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at Jamie Apps Media and at Pario Magazine. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.